What is up guys, Delboy here. A quick video sharing my thoughts on the BT box office coverage of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. I'm not talking about the fight, I'm talking about BT's coverage and their and them going forward basically. As I'm sure some of you guys know, I'm not a fan of Sky Sports box office coverage, and to be honest, Sky Sports in general. For me, there's too much cheerleading. Too many of the commentators or presenters have, invested interest in fighters that are fighting. And to be quite honest, some of the pundits just don't do their homework. Guys like Kyle Froch clearly don't prepare for shows. They just go there and wing it basically. For me, Sky Sports coverage is terrible. I don't enjoy it at all, and it's getting to the point now where it starts to grind on me, to be quite honest. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks that, but I wanted to share my thoughts on BT coverage, as I think it's only fair. I've got to be honest, I really enjoyed the coverage, for the most part, on BT box office. The positives, I really like the presenters. So, Richie Woodhall, Steve Bunce and Paul Dempsey. I really like that trio. I know Lennox Lewis was also there, but I think that was just because it was a big heavyweight fight. Not because he's a permanent part of the furniture. I really like that trio. I do think Richie Woodhall is the weakest of the three. I don't always agree with him, but he still does come out with some good insight, and, he'll bring up things that I've not really thought about or I didn't see. Richie Woodhall, although I think he's the weaker one out of the trio, I still feel he is far better than anybody on Sky Sports, to be quite honest. I like Steve Bunce. I love his enthusiasm. I like the passion. I like his historical knowledge, and I enjoy his stories and his humour. Steve Bunce, yes, he's biased at times. Yes, he does root for the home fighter, but it's just not to the point that Sky Sports do it. Steve Bunce, he'll still give credit to the opponent. He was still giving Deontay Wilder credit as the dangerous guy he was, the dangerous puncher he was. He wasn't really selling us a dream per se. I do feel he is biased at times, and he does lean towards the home fighter. But, again, just far better than anybody on the Sky Sports commentary team. Really good personality, and I enjoy listening to Steve Bunce. I know there are some people out there who don't really like him that much. I know he rubs people up the wrong way. But I like Steve Bunce, I've got to be honest. At first, I wasn't really a big fan of Bunce, but, he's grown on me. And, yeah, I like Steve Bunce. And I really like Paul Dempsey. And again, I know Paul Dempsey rubs people up the wrong way. I love his, how blunt he is. And he will ask the hard questions. He really, really will. I remember when Paul Dempsey was on one of the David Haye shows when he had his comeback. So David Haye, before he fought Bellew, he had a couple of low-level comeback fights against Arnold Djurdjeis and Mark Demore. And these fights were on a TV channel called Dave. Now, Paul Dempsey was on the first Dave card that featured David Haye, and I think that was against Demore. And, David Haye blasted him out. And when Paul Dempsey was interviewing David Haye, he straight up asked him about the quality of opposition and basically that he was a joke. He was really to the point, he was really blunt, and I appreciate the fact that he's not scared to ask questions. There have been times when he's been accused of being a bit too forthright and a bit too blunt, but for me, I think he's a refreshing change from the interviewers and presenters we get on TV these days covering boxing. I really, really like Paul Dempsey. Not only does he ask the hard questions, but also he will, he'll play devil's advocate. So let's say Bunce and Richie Woodhall are saying about Tyson Fury's superior skills to Deontay Wilder and things of that nature. They kind of ride him with Fury. And then Paul Dempsey will say, well, what about the layoff? What about the weight gain? What about this? What about that? He'll actually counteract what they say to actually have a real genuine conversation about the fight, And I think it's really, really good presenting. I like the trio of Bunce, Dempsey and Woodhall. I think they are far superior to the presenters on Sky, to be quite honest. Anna Woolhouse, Adam Smith, Johnny Nelson. You know, I'm not a fan of these people. Matthew Macklin, nah, not for me. I'm sorry, they're not for me. I really like the presenting trio on BT. I've got to say that. And that is the best thing about BT in my opinion, I've got to say it. As for the commentary on BT, I don't think it's the best, but I still give it an edge. In fact, I still rate it over Sky Sports, to be quite honest. John Rawling and Barry Jones, what I've noticed about those two is when they're calling a fight that isn't involving a home fighter, I actually quite enjoy their commentary, to be quite honest. When a sort of home fighter is fighting, they are a bit biased, but for the most part, they're a lot more fair than Sky Sports. They will give the other guy credit, and they're a lot more objective in comparison to Sky Sports. They're not perfect, and they could be better, but still, for me, far superior to Sky Sports. Just really because they call it more down the middle. Again, like I said, not perfect, but just a bit more fair. And you don't get Adam Smith screaming down the mic every 2 seconds, you know, after one little bit of success. So that's always good. So yeah, the commentary on BT, I do think they can tweak that. I do like Jones, I do like Rawling, but, you know, maybe a third commentator, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, the commentary, not perfect, but by no means terrible. And the actual production value, I felt BT Box Office looked sharp, looked nice and clear. I really appreciate the fact that you can easily order these pay-per-views online, which is good. Listen, for a new venture, I really like BT Box Office. My main thing is, I really hope they keep the trio of presenters, to be quite honest. I really enjoyed them. And yeah, I think BT in general, for the most part, I do prefer their coverage. I just feel BT's coverage is a little more grounded in reality. And again, not perfect. It's never going to be perfect when a sort of a network is primarily showing one promoter's fights. It's never going to be perfect, but I think BT are as fair as you're going to get, to be quite honest. And all in all, their coverage, in my opinion, both Box Office and regular BT, you know, it's far superior to the coverage on Sky Box Office and regular Sky, in my opinion. Now, in regards to the quality of fights and quality of cards, I mean, that's always going to be back and forth. I'm not really going to comment on that. But yeah, in regards to the actual coverage, I do prefer BT, I've got to be honest. How do you feel? Do you actually enjoy Sky's commentary, or do you prefer BT's? Do you hate both? Do you like both? Am I overrating BT's coverage? You know, share your thoughts below, I want to hear. Peace.